if you want to avoid all the sickness this winter, the snotty noses, the coughs, the colds, the sleepless nights, the fevers, the Panadol and the antibiotics, the ear infections, the grumpy, tired kids, the days off work and school and childcare, are all those memories of last winter coming back? I'm here to tell you that it doesn't have to be that way this winter. I have a free online masterclass, 3 simple ways to boost your kids' immunity to avoid a winter full of sickness. It's on demand, meaning you can register and watch it straight away or watch it at a time that is convenient for you. Head on over to naturalsuperkids.com/immune and you will be able to sign up. In the masterclass, I am covering our natural, simple and effective approach to avoiding winter infections, how to boost your family's immunity with our proven 3-step naturopathic strategy that is really easy for you to implement as a busy mum. We're going to talk about the immune depleters that you need to avoid so you're not wasting time and money building up your kids' immunity that is just being depleted by these common foods and environmental factors. I am sharing heaps of practical tips. I promise it will be an hour well spent. You can register again at naturalsuperkids.com/immune. I can't wait to hear how you find it and to give you the tips to make this winter healthier. Welcome to the Natural Super Kids podcast, where you will discover practical strategies to inspire you to boost the health and nutrition of your kids. I'm Jessica Donovan, a qualified naturopath specialising in kids' health, and I want to make it as easy as possible for you to raise healthy and happy kids. Let's get into it. Hello and welcome back to the Natural Super Kids podcast. I'm excited to chat today, something a bit different than we normally do on the podcast. I'm recording this a week before we head off on a family adventure to Canada. So I thought it would be fun to do a 2-part episode, one before we leave and then one when we get back. Almost like, the vision for the adventure and then the reality of the adventure. And I know this isn't like a typical subject we would normally talk about, but travel is something that I'm super passionate about. I love travel. I love family travel. Anyone who has been following Natural Super Kids for any length of time may remember we did a big around Australia adventure. The kids were 6 and 8 at the time. I think it was 2016. We travelled in a camper for 13 months and just had the best time. I did a lot of travel backpacking in my 20s. My husband and I actually set off for a 1-year adventure. We were booked in to work on Camp America. We planned to go to Canada and then to Europe and the UK, and we ended up being gone for 5 years before we finally came home. Travel is something I love to do, and obviously family travel is very different than travel when you're younger or maybe even older. And it's something I get asked a lot about from friends in terms of how I plan our travel adventures. Over the last few years, particularly through the COVID sort of period, we did still travel quite a lot, but we kept it within South Australia. So we did a lot of weeks away in different areas in Australia. So it's something we've always loved to do as a family. We've done a lot of camping. I remember the first time both of my children went camping, they were probably around 6 months, maybe even a little bit younger. I remember being in a little tent, sitting up to breastfeed in the middle of the night. So we've always done a lot of travel, but I guess, my kids are now 14 and 16. Over the last couple of years, it's definitely become, we've traveled less because I think, there's been other things going on, but also the kids want to, be around their friends on weekends and in school holidays and that sort of thing. They're not as keen to travel with us. And so we've never actually done a long haul travel experience with the kids. As a family, we've been around Australia. We've been to lots of different places in Australia as well and travelled a lot through South Australia. But overseas, we've been to Bali with the kids and we've been to New Zealand with the kids. And so going to Canada, this is their first long haul flight. And we are just super excited to be having this adventure with them. So I want to share today. So I've had a couple of questions come in through Instagram. I just put a question up on stories asking, what do you want to know about, the planning and our adventure around Canada. So I've got some questions to answer. And I just want to kind of talk through, how we planned for this trip and how this trip came about. So my husband turned 50 this year. Cannot believe it. If you saw him, you would never guess. He just looks so much younger. Everyone's so shocked that he's 50. He's one of those lucky people that don't age, who age well. So he turned 50 this year. I'm about almost 5 years behind him. And what we've been doing since our 40th is we save money. So we automatically, we have a direct transfer every week into a travel account. And so for his 40th, we went to New Zealand. For my 40th, we went to Bali. And now for his 50th, we're going to Canada. And for my 50th, we will be deciding on what we do for that in the coming years. So we just put a set amount into a travel fund every single week. So that's basically how we're affording it, because it is not cheap to be traveling to Canada with the four of us for 4 weeks. And we're not roughing it like we did in our 20s. When my husband and I backpacked in our 20s, we carried a tent. So we camped a lot. We stayed in hostels. Basically, we stayed in places that were as cheap as possible so our money would last longer. We wanted to do this trip a little bit differently. We're certainly not staying in the most expensive places, but we're not camping. I'll get to, the sort of places that we're staying in a moment. So that's how the trip, that's why we're doing this trip for my husband's 50th. And, why Canada? We've always wanted to take the kids back to Canada. So we spent a year. We had work visas for Canada. So we spent a year working and living in Canada. And before that, we traveled for 3 or 4 months through Canada as well. And we absolutely loved it. It's just our sort of place, the outdoor adventures and the outdoor landscape. It's so different to South Australia, where we've got flat, dry land. We were just in awe of the mountains, and we learned to snowboard and did a season snowboarding. And, we also traveled through the summer and we traveled up to Alaska as well. So we just had the most amazing experience there in our 20s and early 30s. And we've always wanted to take the kids there. We remember working in Jasper, a town in the Rocky Mountains. And actually our eldest son is our eldest, who is a son, is named Jasper after the town Jasper, because we worked there for a few months. And we both worked in restaurants, and we both remember seeing these families come through on road trips and being like, God, this would be so cool to do with kids. And so we've always wanted to go back to Canada. We ummed and ahed about whether to go in the winter or the summer, and we decided on the summer because it's easier to travel around. I think you can it's harder to move around in the winter. Obviously, we don't get the snow experience, but my son and husband are very keen on their mountain biking. So the ski resorts turn into mountain biking resorts in the summer. So there's going to be some mountain biking to be had. We're actually traveling with mountain bikes. Wish us luck on that one. So we're taking 2 mountain bikes with us. And it's just a great place for outdoor adventure. We are stopping on the way in Los Angeles. Why Los Angeles? Look, I've been to Los Angeles before. When we worked on a summer camp, I did some lifeguard training in Los Angeles before we got transported over to the summer camp, which was in Northern California. That was just the most amazing experience as well. And so to be honest, I didn't love Los Angeles. I mean, the coastal kind of, exploration around Los Angeles, I did enjoy, but the actual city, I just found it like overwhelming. It was the first place we flew into. I was in my early 20s. I was missing home already. So it was a tricky place to be. And I was doing this kind of quite full-on training to become a lifeguard to work on this summer camp. So, but the reason we're going to Los Angeles is because my daughter was not that keen on Canada. She really wanted to go either somewhere tropical or to Italy. And so she enjoys tropical beach holidays. She loves the beach. She's not she doesn't mountain bike, and she doesn't love hiking either. So wish me luck with her in Canada. So, to keep her happy with the trip, we decided to do a stopover in Los Angeles. So we thought about either Fiji or Hawaii or Los Angeles. And we decided on Los Angeles because it worked in terms of the flights we found. And because it's the furthest away, we can easily go to Fiji another time. I mean, even Hawaii, you're sort of halfway, between. But Los Angeles, we're probably not going to get back there. And my daughter really loves the sort of surf skate culture, and there's a lot of that in Los Angeles. So she also loves shopping, which I do not. But, so that was kind of a like, okay, we'll go to Los Angeles on the way. And for the kids to experience the US over there, while we're over there, I think will be great. So we're stopping in Los Angeles on the way. So in terms of planning for a big holiday like this, so we're away for 4 weeks, and although that's, a decent amount of time, we want to do a lot in that time, and we want to explore a lot in that time. So before I had kids, I was much more of a let's just go and see what happens along the way kind of traveler. Even when we did our big trip around Australia, we didn't plan that too much. We planned which way we were going, some of the key places we wanted to stop, but we, really just kind of winged it along the way. With this trip, we did really want to make sure that everything was planned, everything was booked, we knew what we were doing, but have it a little bit loose as well in terms of, don't have every day jam-packed. So what we did is we booked flights first, and that was, when did we do that? We did that sometime last year. And when we first started looking at flights, I was like, we're not going to be able to do this trip. It was so expensive. And we were almost like, maybe we need to choose something else. I mean, all flights were expensive at that point. I think they're starting to come down now. But we were looking at like $13,000 just for flights for the 4 of us to get over there. I'm like, that is just a ridiculous amount of money to spend on flights. For me, it was anyway. I don't know. Maybe that's normal for some people. Anyway, I just kept looking. And one Sunday afternoon, I jumped on, and the flights were $6,500 for all 4 of us to fly to LA and then Vancouver and then straight home from Vancouver. So not having to go through LA on the way home. So I double checked and triple checked and quadruple checked. I'm like, something must be wrong here. I've only got 2 people in. No, I had 4 people. So we just quickly went ahead and booked it. So that's always, I think, the first thing to start with. Maybe not everyone starts with flights, but that's the first thing we booked. And then we did sort of a loose itinerary of where we wanted to go, because we fly into Vancouver and we fly out of Vancouver, and we've got a car there. So we hired cars. So we've got a car in Los Angeles and Canada, and we hired through a site called Turo, Turo, which is like a car sharing site. So we're hiring off of people, which makes it much cheaper, and it gives you much more variety. Because, as I said, we are traveling with mountain bikes, we need a lot of room. So we've got these big kind of what they call trucks over there, so that we can fit the mountain bikes in the back. So we needed something quite specific. And yeah, we haven't actually had the experience of these cars yet, but it seems like a fairly seamless experience. We pick them up from the airport just like you would a hire car. The owners basically leave them there. And so that's how we've hired our cars. Last time we were in Los Angeles, my husband and I, when we were in our 20s, we did not have a car. So I'm really looking forward to having a car there and exploring up and down the coast, which I'll get to a bit more in a moment. And then we went ahead and started booking our accommodation. So we've booked all of our accommodation. We are staying in a combination of Airbnbs, apartments, and cabins. There's some really cute log cabins in the Canadian Rockies that we're staying in Banff and Jasper. We found those quite touristy places in the Rocky Mountains, Banff and Jasper. There's not a lot of options in terms of Airbnbs. And what is available, it's like little, a part of a person's house. And we just weren't really interested in that. So we are paying a bit more. We always have made sure we've got a kitchen in any accommodation that we're staying in. Maybe bar one, where we've just got a little kitchenette where we're just staying for one night. I think that's so key when you're traveling with kids, to make sure that you can at least prepare some basic meals so you're not having to eat out for breakfast, lunch and dinner, because that gets very expensive. The other thing we looked at was accommodation that had separate bedrooms. We were not interested in hotel style, all of us in one room. With a 14 and a 16-year-old, we knew we needed some space. So some of them are relatively small and we'll be out and about adventuring most days, but we made sure that we weren't all in the one room, living kitchenette and all of us sort of sleeping in the same room. So they're the things that we looked at. And we were also obviously conscious of price. As I said, we weren't looking for the cheapest accommodation, but some of the accommodation over there, the Fairmont hotels, which are the high-end kind of hotels on Lake Louise and in Banff. We were like, maybe we could just stay in one of those for a night or two to sort of spoil ourselves. And we just could not justify the amount of money that they were charging. It was thousands a night. And so we, are staying in Airbnbs, apartments and cabins mainly. And then we've gone on to sort of look at different activities and book some activities to do as well. So we're going to be doing, the boys are going to be mountain biking. So over there it's similar to the skiing, where you get lifts up, or what do you call them? Like cable chairs up with your bikes and then come down. So obviously that is a cost, fairly significant cost to get day passes, just like if you were skiing or snowboarding. So we've purchased some of those. I mean, my 16-year-old son is very excited. Canada is the place to mountain bike, and he watches a lot of mountain biking on YouTube, and, he's watched people mountain biking in Whistler and Kamloops and Revelstoke, some of the places we're going. And, he's just super excited to have that experience for himself. And it's really nice to kind of give him that. My daughter and I will not be mountain biking because it's pretty gnarly over there and we're no good at it. So we will be hopefully hiking. I love hiking. My daughter, not so much. But, she's more interested in shopping and doing some of the zip lining and whale watching and that sort of thing out of Vancouver. That is the whale watching. So I am preparing myself because there's some really amazing hikes over there. And I know, if it was up to me, I would be spending all day hiking while the boys are mountain biking. I know that's not going to go down well with my daughter, and it's not going to probably, end well. So I know that I have to come up with compromises. So my idea is, okay, let's do this hike in the morning and then she loves just having a look around at the gift shops. And the thing about Canada is, there's so many great things to do in the mountain towns. She didn't love Tasmania when we went because, again, the boys were mountain biking, and the mountain biking over there, it's sort of in the middle of nowhere and there's nothing else to do except maybe hiking. But over in Canada, there's lots of things to do in the mountain towns. So, yeah, I will report back and tell you how that went. I'm I've looked at a few of the key hikes that I really want to do, and I just have to make sure that my expectations are realistic. We'll do some hiking all together as well as a family, but we're also looking at things like whitewater rafting, zip lining. Oh, so this is, I know, something I'm going to need to do with my daughter. She's really excited about it. There's zip lining in Whistler. It's like the longest and highest zip line in North America or something. I was reading about it the other day. Apparently you get up to speeds of like 100 kilometers an hour. It's like, I can't remember, 600 meters off the ground. And as I've gotten older, I have become a little bit scared of heights. But I know that I'm just going to have to step out of my comfort zone and do that with her and I know that it will be really fun. I did skydiving and paragliding and all sorts of things when I was younger, but I don't know. I've just become a lot more fearful of heights. So that's going to be fun, maybe once it's done for me. And as I said, my daughter and I might go whale watching in Vancouver as well, because there's some mountain biking the boys want to do in Vancouver. So yes, very excited about, and then of course there'll be lots of things that come up along the way. And then another thing that I get really excited about is eating, where we're going to eat, what types of places we're going to eat. So the kids are excited about certain fast food places that they've seen on social media, of course. Tim Hortons, Chipotle were a couple that they mentioned. My husband and I looked up this burger place we went in Los Angeles when we first got there that just made us feel like, oh my God, we are so in America. It was just typical American, sports bar, huge burgers. So we really want to take the kids back there. The Mexican food in Los Angeles is great. The sushi in Vancouver is amazing. I think that's the first time I ever had sushi was when I was in Vancouver. And there were these fish tacos that we had when we were living over on Vancouver Island. They were sort of a regular. And I did some looking into it, and this fish taco place, which was literally just like a food van in Tofino, has now become a much bigger kind of business, and they've got restaurants all around Vancouver. So we're keen to have a try of those. And so, yeah, I've got some things listed out in terms of places that we want to eat. So that's a bit of an overview of kind of what we're doing, how we planned things. And I've got some questions that came through that I'm going to get to as well. So Belinda asked, how did you convince your teens to want to come traveling? That's such a good question. And I think the answer to that is we've involved them in the planning of the trip. Obviously, as I said, my daughter wasn't so excited to go to Canada as my son was. But we've kind of, we've found experiences and activities and ways to get her excited about the trip as well. So for us, it was really about involving them in the planning. Like we've sat down and watched some little YouTube clips and things of people traveling, like, the best activities in Los Angeles or cruising along the coast in Los Angeles to kind of get them excited in terms of their interests. My daughter loves surf shops. So my husband was looking at this, I can't remember, it's a particular town down the coast from Los Angeles that has a really high concentration of surf shops. So we've just gotten them excited. We've just thought about their interests and what's going to excite them, and we've really made the trip our own. So we've kind of loosely planned our 6 days in Los Angeles, and it's not including Disneyland or Universal Studios. And at first I was like, we really should be going to Disneyland. Some families travel all that way just to go to Disneyland. But when we were talking, my son gets really impatient in lineups, doesn't really like big crowds. They're not really interested. They're not real movie fanatics. And so we've decided to spend a day driving down to like Orange County and Laguna Beach and through those kind of surf towns instead, rather than kind of going with what we should do because we're in a town where, this is what you do tourist-wise. We've always been a family that loves more off the beaten track adventure. I mean, that sounds weird when we're going to Los Angeles, but even our experience in Los Angeles, I think, will be different to what a regular the regular kind of tourist itinerary that most people would kind of follow in Los Angeles. For example, we're staying on Hermosa Beach, which we've got really fond memories of. When we were there, we stayed in this hostel, so we've found an Airbnb. So we know the areas. My son just is very excited to go to Canada because of the mountain biking. So hopefully that answers your question, Belinda. Chloe asks, do you let go when it comes to food when you're away? I mean, I think I've kind of answered that in terms of, some of the fast food places that the kids are excited to eat at. Yeah, look, we do. I feel like we're all, very in tune with our bodies and we like good food. I mean, I'm really excited about exploring the Whole Foods and things like that over there as well. We will definitely eat fast food. We'll definitely eat burgers, because that's kind of what you do when you're in a place like Los Angeles. But we will also, make sure that we're eating a good solid breakfast and, lots of veggies and protein and that sort of thing. I think even my kids will be like, yeah, I need some salad, mum. And my daughter and I have already talked about the fact that we'll probably share meals when we're in the US, because if it's the same as when we were there last time, the portions are huge. And so, yeah, not overeating. And then we will take, some supplements with us as well, probiotics and, digestive support supplements for when we might, overdo it. But yeah, I do kind of definitely let the reins go. I mean, I've done that through the teenage years anyway. I think kids need to learn to be somewhat in charge of their own sort of eating, and that sort of obviously happens progressively as they become teenagers and more independent. But yeah, I will definitely be letting go of our normal kind of food standards while we're away. And Julie asked a couple of questions. One was how to deal with jet lag with kids. So as I said, this is our first long haul flight. I've never done jet lag with kids before. I mean, Bali and New Zealand, it's not really jet lag involved in that. I have got some supplements ready. So I've got a natural melatonin supplement ready to take with me. And I've also got some like it's called NeuroCalm Sleep. So it's a combination of herbs to help support sleep and relax the nervous system. We'll also be taking some magnesium, taurine and glycine supplements with us just to help with getting into a good routine with sleep once we arrive. We also booked our flights thinking about jet lag. So we actually arrive in Los Angeles at, I think it's like 4 or 5 p.m. So we can, get out of the airport, get to our accommodation, maybe go for a bit of a walk, have some dinner and go to bed in their time zone. So yeah, I don't know. I will report back and let you know how the jet lag went, but they're my strategies for now. And we've also talked about getting into the American time zone once we get on the plane and making sure we get some sleep on the plane. And then Julie also asked how to boost kids' immune system to avoid flight germs. Yeah, I'm a little bit worried about this. And also, leaving in winter when there's lots of germs around, I'm worried about people being sick, when we leave. We've all been well so far. So I'm just doing the regular immune boosting stuff that we do, making sure that we're all eating lots of colourful fruits and vegetables. We're getting bone broth in regularly. We're also just sort of upping the ante on our immune support supplements, probiotics, zinc, vitamin C, and I will take with me some zinc and vitamin C and some herbal immune support tablets. So I like MediHerb Andrographis Complex, which we can all take now the kids are older. It's in tablet form, so it's nice and easy to travel with. So if we do get sick, we've got that immune support with us. Well, I wonder if anyone did find this interesting. As I said, this is, very different to the type of episode I'd normally do. So yeah, wish us luck. And as I said, I'm recording this 1 week before we leave, and I will record another episode soon after we get back, which will come out the week after this episode, letting you know all about the reality of what it has been like traveling as a family. Traveling with little kids is one thing and has its own challenges, but traveling with teenagers is challenging in a different way. I am getting myself prepared for the dynamics between the four of us being together 24/7, which, as kids get older, you do spend less and less time together. So that's going to be a challenge, and putting up with everyone's, different moods. I mean, I remember that when we were traveling Australia, we just kind of came to the conclusion that most days one of us was in a bad mood, at least for part of the day. And our strategy for that was, let's find some water. When everyone was grumpy or hot or, irritated, or things were getting intense in terms of the dynamics between siblings, or between my husband and I, or between me and the kids, or my husband and the kids, whatever it might be, find some water and get in. Like, there's no way you can stay mad or sad when you're in cold water. So I think we're going to continue with that strategy, because there's the most amazing lakes to swim in, which is still going to be pretty cold when we're there. At the beginning of summer, and we've got the ocean in Los Angeles. So I'm taking that kind of strategy with me. And we've already talked about separating as well. So my husband and I have talked about, we can go out for an afternoon drink or a walk, or even dinner if the kids are wanting to, chill. Or, we can split up. Me and my daughter, or me and my son can go off, and vice versa. So we're not, stuck on staying together all the time. And I think that will really help. Anyway, wish us luck. I'll report back, and I hope you found this interesting. Talk soon. Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. Head on over to our website, naturalsuperkids.com, for the show notes for this episode, as well as a whole heap of inspiration to help you raise healthy and happy kids. I'll see you next week. Before you go, don't forget about my free online on-demand masterclass, 3 simple ways to naturally boost your kids' immunity to avoid a winter full of sickness. I'm sharing my practical tips on ways that you can strengthen your whole family's immune system to avoid the onslaught of winter infections, so your family can stay healthy and well this winter. You can sign up at naturalsuperkids.com/immune.